What we're going to do now is we're going to look at our third conic section. We've looked at a parabola, we've looked at a circle. Now what we're going to do is we're going to look at an ellipse. An ellipse is going to be similar to a circle. The difference is that we don't have a common radius. What we have is a major axis and a minor axis. And we'll talk more about that tomorrow when we're actually graphing. Today what we're going to do is we're going to set them up to graph. So we're going to be writing the ellipse in vertex form. Vertex form has our h and k value, like we're familiar with the circle, except it's not going to have a common radius. What we're going to do is we're going to find our a squared value and b squared value. And we'll talk about the significance of that tomorrow. So we're given our equation in standard form. First thing that we want to do is we want to factor out the a. In this case, the a is 4, so we factor out a 4. In this case, the a value is 9, so we factor out a 9. Then we use completing the square to find our new c value. We take the negative 10, divide it by 2 and square it. That gives us the 25. We take the 4, divide it by 2 and square it. That gives us the 4. Notice that 25 times 4 gives us 100. 4 times 9 gives us 36. We factor our trinomials, and we get the x minus 5. We factor the trinomial, and we get the y plus 2. Now this is where it deviates a little bit different than the circle. We're not setting it equal to 144. What we're going to do is we're going to divide each side by 144. And when we do that, 4 divided by 144 is going to give us 36. And 9 divided by 144 is going to give us 16. And that gives us our ellipse in standard form. So let's look at example A. What we're going to do is we're going to look at our x's. We're going to factor out our a value. So we're going to factor out a 5. Then we're going to look at our y values. This has an a value of 1, so we're just going to leave it alone. We're going to take our b value. We're going to divide it by 2 and square it. And that right there gives us a 1. With the other one, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to take the negative 6. We're going to divide it by 2 and square it. And that right there gives us a 9. Now, 5 times 1 is 5. And then here we have a 9. So we're going to factor our trinomials. If we're looking at our first one right here, that right there becomes an x minus 1 squared. We look at this trinomial right here, that right there gives us a y minus 3 squared. And it's equal to 15. Now what we're going to do is we're going to set it equal to 1. So we're going to divide by 15 on both sides. This right here cancels. And so what we have is an x minus 1 squared over 3. This one right here, nothing cancels, so we leave it as y minus 3 squared over 15. And that's equal to 1. And that gives us our answer in vertex form. Now, looking at letter B, we're going to do the same thing. First thing that we're going to do is we're going to factor out our a value. So when we're looking at this, our a value for the x's would be 2. Our a value for the y's would be 7. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to find our c value. How we find our c value is we're going to take the 8, we're going to divide it by 2 and square it. So what that gives us is 16. For the other one, it's going to be the same. We're going to take the negative 8, we're going to divide it by 2, we're going to square it, and that gives us a 16 also. Now, 2 times 16 gives us 32. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take the 7, we're going to times it by the 16, and that gives us 112. So now what we're going to do is we're going to factor. When we factor the first ones, we get x plus 4 squared. When we factor the second trinomial, what we get is y minus 4 squared. We're going to add up the negative 46, 32, and 112. And that right there gives us 98. Now our last step in order to put it in vertex form is to divide by our number on the right. So in this case, we're going to divide it by 98. We're basically setting it equal to 1. And when we do that, we can divide these by 2. So what we get is x plus 4 squared all over 49. And we're going to divide these by 7. And that gives us 14. So we have y minus 4 squared over 14. And that right there is equal to 1.